What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and I want to talk about the Remaster. Or to give it its full title, A Reckless Disregard for Gravity is an old-ass title. Maybe even older than some of the people watching this video. It came out in 2009. So yeah, this is a bit of a deep indie gaming cut, but it's something I want to talk about, and it's my channel, so I will. It's probably one of the first indie games I ever played. I don't think it would have been the first, but it's up there. It released at a time when only a tiny handful of indie games made it onto Steam, and those were carefully curated by Valve themselves. What a time to be alive! It's the brainchild of indie development weirdo Ichiro Lam, one of the loveliest guys in gaming, and a man I've had the absolute pleasure of meeting several times at PAX East. Ichiro is the, at present, solo dev of Dejaban Games, who created a lot of wonderful stuff over the years. Some hits, some misses, some genuinely unique and interesting, but without fail worth checking out. Was, and is, a very quirky base jumping game. You leap off a building in first-person view and pilot your way through a bunch of abstractish structures, picking up points for getting close to as much stuff as possible, kissing them, staying close to stuff for as long as possible, hugging them, and for giving your fans a thumbs up on the way past, flipping off your haters, pulling off cool stunts like threading the needle, tagging buildings with graffiti, smashing bonus point plates, and after all that, landing safely in the target zone. It was a game I loved. It was a game, it's fair to say, which was one of Dejaban's hits. They did a version on mobile, they did a version on VR, they combined all those versions into a new game they called for the Awesome. They also recently released a remastered version. This, obviously, interested me. The Remaster is a game which, it gives me very little pleasure to tell you, doesn't especially live up to the original. The original certainly wasn't perfect, there's absolutely ways it could have been improved, but the Remaster hasn't achieved this. The first, most obvious change is visual. It's kind of the baseline you'd expect from any remaster, yeah? There can be no denying that after 15 years, the original sort of looks like ass. Not complete ass, I stress, but it's a lot of crude, low-res textures, large amounts of plain grey concrete buildings. It looks dated. The remaster absolutely brings this up to date, with oodles of juicy neon lighting and flashy effects that make you feel like you're flying through a cyberpunk space city. If that's all they'd done, I'd have been completely happy, honestly. After 15 years, I'd gladly sit down to play it again, but this time with 2024 graphics. The thing is, solid gameplay can carry you past slightly ropey graphics, and had solid gameplay. Unfortunately for us, the remaster is basically a complete remake of and the graphics are only one facet of that. Somehow, somewhere along the way, it's lost the original's truly zany sense of humour. Even before you bought the game, the name is already extremely funny. It's designed not only to be first on any alphabetical list of games, but also to break a world record for the longest game title, and also to break Steam, because in 2009 they couldn't handle a name that long. As soon as you boot it up, the menus are all very silly and sarcastic, the level select menu is absurd, a cylindrical wall of cubes, some of which are levels, some are tips, some are unlocks, and some are just ridiculous goofs like a guided anti-meditation.
Close your eyes. If you're wearing shoes, remove them. Brush your upper earlobes gently with the tips of your fingers. Brush 3 times. 3 times again. You don't have to think about crawling insects. Feel the air pass through your nostrils. Do not think about insects crawling on, crawling around, or preparing to enter your nose.
All these cubes need to be purchased with the in-game currency, which was teeth. Teeth! And the currency for the Awesome expansion is kneecaps. By contrast, the remaster feels like what you'd make instead if you were trying to pitch it to the executive of a big publisher. The level names are sometimes a bit daft, but that's it. That's all that remains. You're unlocking stuff in a linear order through a plain grey menu with good old tried and true stars now. Boring. You're not trying to sell this game to Yves Rameau, Andrew Wilson, or Bobby Kotick. It's me! I'm your target audience, the fan of a reckless disregard for gravity. And I want teeth! Let's talk gameplay. It used to be keyboard to move, mouse to look around. Pretty standard. The remaster has changed this to a fully mouse-only interface. You look around and move in the direction you look. Simpler, more accessible, maybe? But it has a couple of knock-on effects. For starters, there's an entire element of the original that required movement and looking around to be independent. Tagging buildings. As you fell, you could look up for a moment to quickly slap some graffiti on a convenient surface before looking back at where you were going. If looking up immediately prompts you to dive headfirst towards said surface, you can't exactly tag it, unless you count the red smear you'll leave behind. So that mechanic is just simply cut from the game. Gone. It's just fundamentally less complex and interesting now. It also just makes the game that bit more abstract. Previously, you were base jumping. You had to jump. Like, walk up to the edge of a building and hurl yourself off of it. You could choose where you wanted to jump from, to some extent. Now you just start out dangling in mid-air and say when you want to go. Also cut, though it can't be for the same reason, is espresso. In the original, you could hit shift once per level to slam an espresso as you fell to give you a few seconds of slow-mo to pull off tricky maneuvers. That's just gone. Does that make it more challenging? Perhaps. Is it less interesting? For sure. Finding the optimal time to use your espresso to give you an edge was a key part of things. Why would you want that edge? Well, this gets at the nub of things for me, I think. A reckless disregard for gravity and for the awesome felt like games that could and should appeal to the speedrunning community. You know what else the remaster has done away with? A sense of discovery. Every level has a big cluster of cubes running through it, designed to show you the optimal path through the level. Every cube counts as a kiss, so as long as you stay close, you'll rack up big points, and it's frequently more than ample to notch up 5 stars, even if you goof a couple of times. In the original, getting 5 stars often required you to find the optimal path. Maybe there's some appealing score plates over here, but there's a lot more buildings over there. Maybe if you go down another route, you could find some spectators or graffiti buildings you couldn't see before. And of course, you've got your tactical espresso. It might take a few attempts, and that's fine. There's even a bit of an art to the landing. The remaster gives you a bit of control after you deploy the parachute, where the original asked you to be aiming the right way when you hit space. Is it frustrating to make an awesome run but fluff the landing? Sure. Is it satisfying as all hell to nail it perfectly? Heck yeah. What happens when you do nail the landing? Well, the remaster gives you your score, stars, and ushers you onto the next level. The original gives you a full breakdown of your score so you can see where you could improve and sends your score to a global leaderboard. Sadly with a bunch of hacked scores these days, but it wasn't ever thus. And instills a sense of competition about it. I couldn't do it these days, but I absolutely remember trying to top the leaderboards on a bunch of levels. Now, you're only competing with yourself. Is that to say it couldn't still be speedrun? Well, no, of course it could. But the original had a lot of design considerations that felt like they were geared towards fostering that kind of community. And the remaster feels like all of this has been pared away in the name of streamlining it into something, quite frankly, lesser. There's other tweaks too, like now there's health. In the original, if you dinged a building, it might throw you off, and if you slammed straight into a roof, that was it, you're out, try again. Now you have a couple of chances to just bounce right back on up and carry on your merry way. Is that me whinging about how people should get good? Yeah, maybe a bit, but it feels like just another element of polishing off more rough edges to streamline it further. Could it have been an accessibility option? Like turn on health in the options menu to make it a bit easier if you're just wanting to play for fun, but keep the standard mode as one strike and you're out. I feel like the keyboard and mouse versus mouse only controls should have been an option too. A remaster should build on the original, and keeping the traditional controls but with a mouse only option would cater to more people. One design consideration I'd have liked to see that wasn't even in the original is having a single key to restart the level. A simple feature that enhances speedrunning immensely. Did you do something wrong and you know it? Did you miss that vital score plate that's essential to breaking your record? Yeah, I just want to be able to hit R or something and go again without having to go through menus. I know much is made about armchair critics like me commenting on how easy features would be to add to games, but seriously, that would be so easy to add, I'm sure of it. I obviously went back to play the original to get the footage to make this very video, and of the two, it's genuinely the one I want to play more of. Sure, it's not as pretty, but when you're hurtling out of the sky, it's not your biggest concern. The remaster just feels perfunctory by comparison, where the original felt engaging and compelling. It still holds up just fine today, and it's slightly cheaper. If you never played it, and for whatever reason the remaster caught your eye, my personal recommendation is to skip it and go and pick up for the awesome. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you're looking for more Meroka, you can find me on Mole Man in the Morning and All for Arnold, podcasts about The Simpsons and Arnold Schwarzenegger respectively. In my biased opinion, I think they're worth listening to.